warm welcome to Sairee to be part, to accept and be part of this event today. Um, we at Hey, we are kind of picking up these topics throughout the year. We are going to be doing about 12 such events throughout the year. One that we did in Jan, the second one we are doing now today with Sairee. We are calling it the Unstuck with Hey events. And as the name goes, I mean, we're going to be picking up important topics that would be relevant to the community and to the users, that we have, at Hey. So for today's topic, we actually picked up self-esteem, it being the self-esteem month. And we really wanted to go deeper in terms of, understanding the part of self in self-esteem. I think self-esteem, everybody knows and understands what it is. But I think one thing that comes just before you get to self-esteem is the knowledge of yourself, and that can be a hard place to get to.
There's a saying in the world: there's a viewpoint, and there's a viewing. There's a viewpoint, and there's a point of view, and I think it's how I see the world and how the world sees me, really. And of course, everything you hear is really how probably I see myself, or this is my articulation of myself and my life. So I go back to what I call small town India, and the fanciness of the life we have today didn't exist, when I was a child. I grew up in a very small town in a state called UP in India. It's one of the most backward states, and it's also a little bit of one of the most unruly states, if you will, and so much so that we were never allowed to go out unescorted. Girls would never venture out unescorted. Crime was very rampant. So when I was a kid, I think I always dreamt of getting out, and I did get out when I turned 17. I finished my school.
It takes courage even today to be, just quitting job and starting up. And at the time in 1999, 2000, and especially for a female to be doing that, what gave you that courage, or what gave you that, momentum to get into this? Like that is the kind of self-esteem or confidence that you may have, or it may be people around you who gave it to you. So how did that come about?
Right. So I think very simply, I would say brave and foolish, so I think both go together sometimes. And the truth is, in India, we have this syndrome. I call it the my Raja Beta syndrome, which means, oh, my darling son, I think all the attention in families is on sons. We are two sisters, so we didn't have like a boy in the family. So there's nobody to take that away. But because we grew up in a small town and there's not a lot of distraction, I think what it did was it gave, at least I got a lot of groundedness from that. And I also got a lot of confidence from, for example, by the time I think I'd finished school, I'd probably read everything that I could lay my hands on. So we know that most of these startups will not make it. And some are already not making it, so it's not like I've been an investor for a long time, but as new as I am, I'm still saying, oh my God, write off these people, which is, of course, sad for the company, but also sad for us, right? Or I've now built Sheros for 10 years, and Sheros has practically pivoted every 18 to 24 months because the market kept changing. We became in a very small market, and the market kept growing, which meant we had to constantly keep up with it. But every time you do this, the failure shadow is hovering over your head, whether you're going to survive the pivot or not, right? And so I think failure is really embedded into building, if you're going to build anything, even as a mom, failure is literally you may feel like your child's going to win this class debate once a year, but you're going to have arguments or really small things, 5 times a week, right? You're going to talk about dressing or food or friends or homework. It's going to happen, and you will self-doubt. And and I think having self-doubt or fear of failure is natural. What is sort of hard is, making friends with it and like living with it constantly. Like harboring failure is where I think it gets tough. Thankfully, uh, at least the way it played out for me was that because things kept moving, there was always the next thing to worry about. To say, hey, like I can't dwell on this because I got to go to the next thing. I got to go on, the child has to go to school tomorrow. Oh, there are exams next week. Oh, we got to pay wages at the end of the month. Oh, we got to make an investor presentation. Oh, we got to now, like, raise the next fund. I think things kept coming. So, in some ways, this pace of life worked in the favor. I mean, it could equally have been distressing or overwhelming, but because there's something to look forward to, it's like past classes, right? Like when once you're done with high school, you really don't want to worry about like your past classes. So if you keep moving is not a bad mantra in every sense. I mean, it's a personal mantra. Like physically, like we all know we love a good jog or cycle or workout or yoga, whatever is your thing. Uh, but also metaphorically, keep moving is pretty awesome. I think just for anyone and everyone.
Right.
And I see it now with my daughter, who's in a much more competitive generation. Like nobody had any expectations of us. I see my daughter has huge expectations from herself, which is very different from what we were. We were really like footloose, fancy free. We were little ruffians, if you will. But
I mean, that part, it kind of came across when you were explaining that just not getting stuck in the failures or whatever the downsides are of the day or of the year, and then just constantly looking at it as a process of improvement and of learning and of growth, kind of just keeps you going. Because what I feel is we are not really very adequate in all facets of our life, but the only thing that we can do is keep getting better in all the facets, right? So like you mentioned, as a mom, you had different challenges. As an entrepreneur, you have different challenges, but just getting stuck when with any of those doesn't really help. And it, probably harms your confidence that you're just stuck and not able to kind of move forward. But the ability to solve and keep continuing to improve and learn, from what I'm hearing from you, kind of kept you going, kept you improving, as part of the process as well. Simply understanding what your core needs are, what your core, I think, values and beliefs are, as yourself, what you think is most essential, most fundamental for you, and just being very honest about those values and just staying the course in many ways. That's beautiful.
So one, it was really, really inspiring, interesting. Also, I resonate with, I think, a couple of elements that you mentioned with how I've grown up in my life. But I'm just curious to also know that you mentioned that you come from a conservative background, like the bringing up was different. Also, your worldview was different than where you actually lived and how you've evolved. Also, the kind of work you do now and what I know of primarily is to bring about a change in a positive direction, like even if for female-centric change that we are bringing about via Sheros or Mahila Money. So did that begin because of rebellion, because there was no expectation, so you wanted to prove a point and bring about a change, or at least think that you're capable of doing something good or positive for yourself or the society? Or was it because, like you mentioned, there were no expectations, so you had nothing to lose, and that was the mindset from the get-go? I was just curious to know.
Yeah, so I think a little bit of both. So there was a sense of rebellion to say, hey, we're going to find better options, right? So these options don't work for us. We're going to do it our way. And obviously do that in a somewhat provable way, right? Like not just noise of but also, hey, can I act on it, right? Like, and also, can I back it with my conviction? So of course there's a little bit of rebellion, given I think all kids have rebellion of some sort, but there was that for sure. But rebellion doesn't sustain you, right? It can get you started, but it doesn't sustain you, And I think after that, it's really sort of your own conviction that carries you through, your ability to sort of say, how deep is your conviction? Do you really sort of, if your why is very thin, then you will run out of it, right? If you're only doing it to prove to others, then at some point people will stop paying attention and you will stop doing it. Right? Yeah. So I think at some point it was personal and also possibility. So this whole thing to say, oh my God, wow, we are in this world. I will have a limit to how much can I think, because I can only see like a definite amount in a definite period.
Right. So that farsightedness, I think, came out of your like your depth of understanding of a lot of things by the conversation.